Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 25. Rounding up in the examination hall. Gao Lishi personally came to patrol the area, accompanied by the minister and assistant minister of the Ministry of Rites, along with 2 secretaries of the Grand Council from Wenyuan and Hongwen Library. As soon as they arrived, the examiners hurriedly gathered in the center of the examination hall and listened to the instructions. While they were talking jovially, a voice suddenly came through from outside. No admittance inside the Imperial Examination Hall. The Exorcism Department is performing their official duty. All irrelevant people must retreat. Gao Lishi. There was a commotion among the examiners. They walked in succession out of the hallway and looked out toward the entrance. At this time, Chu Yongxi shouted, "Zhenqi Li Jinglong, from the Exorcism Department of the Judiciary Department has arrived." "Li Jinglong! Li Jinglong! What are you doing?" Gao Lishi exclaimed. The guards wanted to step forward and obstruct them, but Hung Jun behind Li Jinglong released his penta-colored sacred light. How could ordinary humans block that? They were immediately shoved straight out. In an instant, as the raucous disruption occurred in the crowd, the guards pulled out their weapons, pointing them at Li Jinglong and the 4 men behind him. The examiners only felt their eyes blur, not knowing what tricks Li Jinglong's subordinate had used to put people down. However, Gao Lishi knew that trouble was coming. If what he said that night was true, then this group of men should be the exorcists. Regardless of whether that trick was a smokescreen or not, it was likely that the guards at the entrance wouldn't be able to handle it. Something must be done to get him under control first. "Let him in!" Gao Lishi barked. As soon as they entered the examination hall, Li Jinglong first saluted Gao Lishi, seeming neither cringing nor arrogant. Gao Lishi said, "Li Jinglong, your exorcism department has been officially dismissed, and we left you extra time just to go back and move. Why are you still making trouble here?" The minister of the Ministry of Rites snorted and smiled insincerely as he looked at Li Jinglong. Everyone from the exorcism department who had just discovered this inside story looked at Li Jinglong with great surprise. Li Jinglong however said, "I came here today under His Majesty's order to supervise the imperial examination and eliminate evildoers." The examiners looked at each other, and someone laughed. The minister of the Ministry of Rites spoke, "Li Jinglong, are you mad? You should look for a physician." Li Jinglong stated, "His Majesty is on his way back from Mount Li. We will not wait for him. It's just in time for you, my lords, to witness this on the spot. Please." Ignoring the others, he walked down along the hallway. Gao Lishi followed and shouted, "Li Jinglong! What are you doing?" Hung Jun and the others followed soon after, while Gao Lishi immediately caught up to them. Everyone stepped aside and gave way to the officials. The secretary from Wenyuan angrily said, "Li Jinglong! The Imperial Examination Hall is a place concerning the state's prosperity. Who allowed you to be presumptuous here?" In each wing, when the exam candidates heard the conflict outside, they all gathered at the window and looked out curiously. Seeing Li Jinglong briskly walking, Gao Lishi snarled, "Li Jinglong! You're mad! Somebody, quick! Seize him for me! Who would dare?" When Hung Jun shouted, all the guards didn't dare to come forward. In no time, Li Jinglong came to a room and kicked the door. The door lock immediately snapped. "What are you doing?" One of the exam candidates inside cried loudly, looking at Li Jinglong in a panicked state. In that instant, Hung Jun's heart thumped. He felt as if his whole body had been drenched with cold water from his head down to toes. Not even a crone or a sparrow could be heard all around him. Everyone was full of the same thoughts. "It's over. I kicked the wrong door. Sorry." Li Jinglong then closed the door. "Everyone!" Li Jinglong kicked another door. Gao Lishi finally couldn't bear it any longer and roared, "Li Jinglong!" Li Jinglong stepped aside. Gao Lishi instantly quieted down. In the room, there was a scattered hat and robe before the table, and a grey fox lying in the midst of a scholar's clothing. Hung Jun almost cheered aloud as the others were relieved. What's going on? Gao Lishi seemed to see a colossal absurdity. He scanned the numerous examiners. The minister of the Ministry of Rites also came to take a look, before he stepped back in shock and stumbled down to the ground. This, the minister of the Ministry of Rites shuddered. What does this mean? Where's the person? The secretary exclaimed aloud. Li Jinglong swept his eyes over the crowd. At the same time, everyone from the exorcism department rapidly looked at those who were present, trying to find clues. Origin imperceptibly shook his head, implying that there was no mastermind. The exam candidate next door stuck his head out to take a look, but then Chu Yongxi stuffed the man back, and Hung Jun conveniently twisted another door lock. Seize the fox. Li Jinglong coldly said. Take the waist tag. Go to the next room. There's more. The secretary asked in shock. Li Jinglong kicked open the next door. Gao Lishi has not yet recovered when he hurriedly said, Wait. Wait for what? Li Jinglong said. General Gao, those who took part in the imperial examination of the Great Tang were actually a group of foxes. The officialdom will be full of yaos in the future days to come. Are you not afraid at all? Those spoken words instantly uncovered the essence of the problem. The examiners, the secretaries of the Grand Council, the minister of the Ministry of Rites, the assistant minister, a chill rose behind the officials as they finally realized the severity of the situation. Watch closely. Li Jinglong kicked open several doors in a row. He first let everyone have a look before Origin took the foxes out. Chu Yongxi stuck the talismans upright in the middle of the examination hall, made a magic array, and threw all the sleeping foxes in. Wait a moment. Gao Lishi was thoroughly blinded by the sight of more and more foxes, shouting, Li Jinglong. Explain to me exactly what this is. Hung Jun, let me kick too. Li Jinglong, all right. Atai, you and others go catch the rest of them. Stop it, stop. The secretary of the Ground Council continuously gasped for breath, as if every time Li Jinglong kicked open a door, the exam candidates inside would turn into foxes. Gao Lishi once again shouted, Li Jinglong. What kind of sorcery are you using? Hung Jun kicked a few times, satisfying his desire for destruction. After kicking the doors open, Li Jinglong pulled the foxes out. After 2 to 3 continuous kicks, the minister of the Ministry of Rites spoke, this matter is still not ascertained. Li Jinglong. You explain all this clearly to me. Otherwise, I won't allow you to kick in any more doors. Li Jinglong, the exorcism department is not under the jurisdiction of your Ministry of Rites. Go and ask the Minister of the Ministry of Justice to come over. Gao Lishi snarled, Li Jinglong. This is your sorcery. You're seeking vengeance. Li Jinglong stopped as he took a look at Gao Lishi and then walked over toward him. Gao Lishi and the others immediately felt an incomparable fear and couldn't help retreating, fearing that they would also be kicked into foxes under his foot. At that moment, however, the sound of a voice echoed through the examination hall. His Majesty has arrived. The entire examination hall was boiling with excitement as the exam candidates who did not know what was happening rushed to the window, falling over each other in their eagerness to see Li Longji's appearance. At that time, they saw Li Longji in civilian clothes, striding ahead with Feng Chongqing on crutches behind. Li Longji stood still as he passed through the open field and took a look at the foxes in the array, his eyes filled with shock. He looked back at Feng Chongqing, who only made a please gesture. Your Majesty. Seeing Li Longji coming, everyone hurriedly bowed and made their salutations. Li Jinglong held his fist in his other hand and said, reporting to Your Majesty, General Gao and others are assisting us in seizing these fox yaos. Li Longji turned to glance at Gao Lishi and solemnly said, is that really so? Gao Lishi couldn't help but tremble. Li Jinglong had played his tricks exquisitely. He had to nod his head and said, yes. Yes. But this official doesn't know why. Open the door for me to see. Li Longji stood in front of another door. The examiner took the key, but his hands couldn't stop trembling. Hung Jun rushed forward and helped Li Longji as he kicked open the wooden door, producing a loud bang. Li Longji hurried into the room. Li Jinglong wanted to stop him, but Feng Chongqing motioned that there was no harm there. Li Longji himself entered the wing, picked up a fox by the ear, and had a look. How many more? Reporting back to your majesty, there are a total of 266, Li Jinglong replied. Li Longji's eyes were filled with wrath. As he reached the next room, he lifted his foot and kicked the door open himself, without waiting for the others to do it. Just as expected, they were all foxes. After a full hour, the heap of foxes filled the open field in the examination hall. The amount of medicine Hung Jun gave was too hefty, causing the fox yaos to still be asleep. Li Longji sat panting in his chair and looked at Li Jinglong with some kind of unspoken fear. This one's for you. Li Jinglong handed a little fox to Hung Jun, with a jade Buddha tied to its foreleg. Hung Jun felt a sense of relief and was about to thank Li Jinglong, who said, Hung Jun, you have to do me a favor. At dusk, in the imperial study, the little fox inside the cage woke up. Suddenly shivering, it opened its eyes and caught a glimpse of the talisman stick on the cage and then looked around. Don't worry. Hung Jun's voice rang out from the side of the study. You're safe. They won't be able to find you here. The little fox's hair instantly bristled, staring at Hung Jun in disbelief. Hung Jun sat on the windowsill, stepping on the window frame with one foot while his other foot hung down, forming a beautiful silhouette. I'm sorry. Hung Jun said. I entered the Imperial Academy that day to find out who you all were. You, the fox Yao opened his mouth. Who are you? I'm an exorcist, Hung Jun replied in a low voice. You lied to me. The little fox let out a miserable shriek. Hung Jun said, but I also saved your life. Otherwise you would be dead now. What about the others? The fox thrilled. They all showed in their true features, Hung Jun replied. Who sent you here? The little fox immediately grew vigilant. Hung Jun tilted his head, smiled and said, tell me who he mastermind is, and I will let you go. The little fox said nothing, trembling with tears in its eyes. I don't know, the little fox cried. Please, let me go. You've all killed so many scholars. Hung Jun said. I'm afraid it's not likely that you're innocent. The little fox screeched, I didn't kill anyone. I really didn't. What about the rest of your kind? Hung Jun asked. The little fox fell silent. Hung Jun, you all acted jointly and killed 266 scholars. Within these, there could have been future officials of the Great Tang. The little fox, but I really didn't. They never wanted me to suck the spiritual essence of mortals. By the time I arrived, that child had already been sucked dry by others of their kind. Hung Jun couldn't help but shiver, the hair on his back standing on end. They asked me to replace the scholar, and I complied. Please. Please. Hung Jun. Hung Jun jumped off the windowsill. Sighing, he squatted down and watched the little fox with guilt in his eyes. I'm sorry, Hung Jun finally said. He reached out his hand to scatter the powder in when the little fox bit his finger. Ah! In a split second, the little fox fell unconscious again, and Li Jinglong quickly rushed out from behind the bookshelf. Hurt? Li Jinglong said. Let me see. Hung Jun had been bitten on his index finger, and Li Jinglong hastily held his hand. Hung Jun said, it's okay. I often got bitten by animals on the mountains before. Li Longji walked out from behind the bookshelf, seeing and hearing the whole process. Hung Jun stood up, Li Jinglong said in his place. Your Majesty, this subject is asking for mercy for this fox Yao on behalf of Hung Jun. It did not harm anyone. Be done with it. Li Longji flicked away his sleeve and said, "You decide what to do with it." At that moment, Li Longji seemed to be a lot older under the setting sun, and his steps were somewhat dispirited as he slowly walked out of the imperial study. Hung Jun breathed a sigh of relief and followed Li Longji behind together with Li Jinglong. "If I had not seen it with my own eyes," Li Longji stated, walking ahead, "I'm afraid I wouldn't believe that there could be such preposterous things for as long as I lived." Yang Yahuan stood on the steps of the back hall of Xingqing Palace, looking at the sleeping foxes piled in the middle of the open field with eyes full of shock. Lady Kuo and Yang Kuozhong's faces instantly turned ashen. Around Feng Chongqing and Gao Lishi, the eunuchs moved out several chairs from the palace, inviting the emperor's relatives who had just returned from Huaqing Palace. So this was what General Feng had said. Yang Yahuan couldn't believe her eyes. "Precisely," Feng Chongqing replied. "Fox Yaos who disguised themselves as the exam candidates for the imperial examination and wanted to disrupt the Great Tang." Standing guard in front of the pile of foxes were Chu Yongxi, Atai, and Mo Rijin, each armed with weapons, preparing for the Fox Yaos to wake up. Li Longji walked past the foxes, sparing them no glance. With a long sigh, he sat down on the chair high above the steps. Yang Yahuan looked at the foxes and then at Li Longji, who put his hand on the back of Yang Yahuan's hand, and said to Li Jinglong, "Jinglong, tell us about it." Li Jinglong sternly said, "Your Majesty, Gai Fei, everybody, this matter began when Hung Jun entered Chang'an." Li Jinglong stood at the flight of steps as he began to unfold the account, from the day when Hung Jun arrived in Chang'an and found the AO fish. When mentioning Pingkong Li, Yang Yahuan frowned and said, "So it turns out that you were in Pingkong Li that day to investigate the case." Li Jinglong put on a bold face and replied, "Yes, this subject had discovered that there were Yao spirits in Pingkong Li for some time now. It is a crime to deceive a monarch." All his subordinates thought at the same time. However, they just let it pass, giving him the chance to regain his good reputation. It was Hung Jun who had caused the mischief and the harm to his reputation anyway. Hung Jun almost refuted that but was stopped through Li Jinglong's glance. After that, Li Jinglong mentioned that as he went into Pingkong Li, he found the Fox Yao and followed its track, and put forth the process involving the AO fish, only not mentioning the throwing knife that Hung Jun had lost. Then, Hu Sheng and the city gate's army were summoned to confirm that these were not just made-up words. Hearing this whole process, Li Longji, Yang Gaifei, and everyone were all scared witless. Lady Kuo shuddered as she said, "You all even went to Daming Palace to fight a battle." Yang Kuozhong frowned and said, "How can you be sure that these foxes are really exam candidates and not a diversionary tactic?" Raising his hand, Li Longji interrupted, "I have confirmed it myself. There's no need to be skeptical." Li Jinglong, continue. Li Jinglong then informed them about what had happened in Daming Palace. The Yaogwai was extremely difficult to overcome. It destroyed the golds and jewels in Daming Palace as it struggled. Jinglong was really terrified. "You've done a meritorious service today," Li Longji said. "It has long ago already been paid for, don't brood over it. This account is on my head." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They finally no longer had to pay out any more money. As a matter of fact, Li Longji had already heard Feng Chongqing narrating the details of the whole case, but at this moment, it was even more hair-raising coming from Li Jinglong's mouth. Li Jinglong finally stated, "These Fox Yaos have caused chaos to the laws of Imperial Court and committed a great crime. This subject implores your Majesty to have them removed from here." "Accepted," Li Longji coldly said. "The Ministry of Rights will issue a compensation and inform the families of the dead exam candidates." The Ministry of Rights minister hurriedly bowed to promise. Yang Yahuan sighed, eyes full of perturbation. "One of this subject's subordinates is Tegla Isaiah," Li Jinglong said. "He's a former Persian." "Isaiah?" When Li Longji heard this, his expression altered and asked, "What's his relationship with Narsi?" "He's my father." A Tai stepped forward and bowed towards Li Longji. Li Longji studied A Tai and said in a low voice, "You've returned." A Tai heaved a sigh and smiled. "Yes. I'm willing to do my part for the Great Tang." Li Longji frowned and looked at A Tai, seemingly lost in memory. Li Jinglong said, "Tagla studied under Zoroastrianism schools and is proficient in flame technique. He'll be able to burn the fox yaos all at once." Hearing that, Yang Yahuan, Yang Kuozhong, and Lady Kuokuo simultaneously showed discomposed expressions, yet Li Longji said resentfully, "Burn." The fox yaos had tried to achieve their aims through underhanded means and had replaced the exam candidates. If knowledge of this matter spread out, the Great Tang national prestige and the emperor's face would undoubtedly be obliterated, and the imperial examination would completely become the butt of a joke. How could they tolerate that? Therefore, Li Jinglong moved back and made a gesture towards A Tai, indicating that he could burn the foxes. "If you don't want to look, you can just leave for a moment," Li Jinglong whispered to Hung Jun. Hung Jun said, "It's okay." A Tai muttered and recited the incantations. In the square, in the midst of the blood-like dusk, A Tai's ring suddenly burst into countless blazes of red light. Subsequently, the folding fan in his hand shook, the flames swirled with the wind, turning into a tornado, and twisting up the pile of fox yaos. As the luminous blaze burned, the more than 200 foxes immediately howled and woke up one after another, but were incapable to escape. In less than a few short breaths, the howling rapidly stilled as the surroundings returned to silence. The flames soared toward the sky, crackling and carrying a pungent smell. After all the foxes died, it seemed as if a terrible force had crashed straight into the horizon. Li Longji couldn't help but tremble. At the same time, everyone in the open field turned pale. The force was like the resentment and rage released by the fox yaos as they were on their deathbed, shifting in an endless stream, then turned into black flames and rushed straight to the horizon. Li Jinglong never expected such a change and immediately shouted, "Protect His Majesty." At that moment, Hung Jun sensed a strong resentment, as if about to burst his heart. A lot of sadness, anger, and other sentiments burst out. Li Jinglong immediately pulled him aside and guarded him. Li Jinglong blocked in front of Hung Jun's body until the strong resentment subsided. After the black flames rose, it turned into a sort of meteor trajectory, shooting off into the sky and disappearing completely. Yang Yahuan frowned and asked, "What was that?" Reporting back to the imperial concubine, Mo Rijin replied. That was the resentment with which the Yao spirits had absorbed from the mortal's blood. Now, along with the Yao Gui's execution, the exam candidates' souls who died under them have all now returned to the sky. No need to worry. Under the cage of the night, the pile of fox corpses had burned out, producing the cracking and grinding noises, while the surroundings stood in a deafening silence. No one dared to speak, all making their own calculations. End chapter. Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 26. Compassion. Li Jinglong, you and your subordinates should stay in the palace for a while, Li Longji stated. Everyone else leave, it's already late. Kuozhong, you and Chongqing will go together to the examination room tomorrow. They all saluted in succession and retreated. Li Longji and Yang Yahuan turned and entered the back hall of Xingqing Palace. Li Jinglong knew that today's matter must be too shocking for him. The emperor wouldn't think it through clearly in just this amount of time, thus he had to be given some more. Li Jinglong unsheathed his sword and turned over the corpses of the fox yaos that had been burned. You should still probably treat your sword a bit better, Chu Yangxi said. It's not a matchstick. Li Jinglong glared at Chu Yangxi while Mo Rijin laughed and said, we don't have to compensate for Daming Palace, do we? A Tai smiled and joined in, that's great. Hung Jun sighed. Li Jinglong asked, what's wrong? It all went in accordance with your kindly feelings, and we gave the wrongdoer a way out, so why are you still blue? Hung Jun thought of what Li Jinglong had said that night. He didn't know whether what the little fox had said was true or not, or whether it had killed anyone or not. Hung Jun suddenly felt that Li Jinglong had been right and couldn't help feeling melancholy. "Thank you," Hung Jun said. "But I felt like I've been deceived." "You said Du Hanking. Where ignorance is bliss, it's folly to be wise in life." Li Jinglong waved his hand and said. "Don't take everything too seriously. Turn the page and forget about it. Give it some Lihun pollen some other time, take it somewhere away and let it go, and then that's the end of it. Don't take unnecessary pains to insignificant matters," Mo Rijin said and smiled. "All right." Hung Jun also smiled. At this time, a eunuch came over and asked Li Jinglong to wait in the side hall as His Majesty bestowed a meal. After people arrived to clean up, they then followed the eunuch, passed through the imperial garden of Xingqing Palace, and waited in the side hall. Li Longji bestowed a meal upon them. This was a far cry from their usual treatment. Yang Yahuan even specially let people prepare the Minji Mingao to be sent over. Hung Jun was terribly delighted by eating these. However, Li Jinglong apparently still had some concerns on his mind. "The case is concluded, right?" reminded Chu Yangzi. "That's right." Reminded by this, Li Jinglong immediately smiled and said, "Us brothers have worked hard." After meals and having tea, Li Longji summoned them again. They then washed their hands, cleaned their faces, and came to a place called Withering Golden Flowers before the elegant hall. "Tegla is summoned to have an audience with the emperor," the eunuch stated. Li Longji first summoned Atai, but for some reason, Li Jinglong only nodded to Atai and smiled encouragingly. Atai heaved a long sigh, took off his boots, and entered the hall. Yang Guifei sent another decree for the rest of them to wait outside the Withering Golden Flowers to admire the flowers. The autumn night was bleak, and they didn't know what flowers they were supposed to admire. Still, there wasn't anything to do, so Li Jinglong simply leaned against a wall outside the hall and fell asleep. These days, he was too worn out. From time to time, his head would tilt towards Hung Jun and then half of his body ultimately already slumped into Hung Jun's embrace. Hung Jun simply held him in his arms and talked with Mo Rijin and Chu Yangzi in a low voice. An hour later, Atai came out. Li Longji now summoned Chu Yangzi and Mo Rijin. Li Jinglong woke up, wiped the saliva on his face, and puzzledly asked, "Summoned us?" "Not yet." Hung Jun also felt that it was strange that they were summoned in ones or twos. This time, Mo Rijin and Chu Yangzi went in and merely said a few words before coming out again. "Let the three of us return first." "There's nothing for us here," Mo Rijin said. "Go ahead," Li Jinglong said. Zhao Zilong is still waiting in the exorcism department. The other trio thus left. Li Jinglong's nap had left him somewhat dazed, and he couldn't stop rubbing his face. After a short while, he was summoned together with Hung Jun. Inside the Withering Golden Flowers, there was a clear pond and a couch beside it. Behind the couch was a crane screen surrounded by 8 surfaces. The lights flickered, and there was a song coming from a distance, occasionally with 1 or 2 tones. There was a nearly 100-year-old ginkgo tree situated in the pond. Along with the strings' clanking sound, the golden yellow leaves gently fell, just like a vast spread of golden flowers, beautiful and sumptuous. Li Jinglong wiped his face, seeing Li Longji sitting upright on the couch with Yang Yahuan concocting some medicine pills at his side. When he was about to salute, Li Longji however interrupted, "Drop the formalities. Take a seat." After the Imperials moved onto the low couch, Li Jinglong and Hung Jun then sat together and once again had some tea. Li Longji said, "Jinglong has made great merits this time. I want to know how I can reward you." "Just say it." Li Jinglong hastily said, "It is this subject's duty to serve the state and dare not to receive rewards. Your Majesty pardoned this subject of the crime of causing great disaster in Daming Palace, and this subject is already grateful." Although the spoken words sounded humble, from Li Jinglong's mouth, it was spoken neither humbly nor arrogantly. Even though Yang Yehuan was frowning, she nevertheless smiled and stated, "See, this concubine had guessed right." Li Longji laughed. The seriousness of the atmosphere subsequently relaxed. Li Jinglong continued, "But in rooting out wickedness, in a few days, this subject will still have to take his group to Pingkong Li, as to avoid the Yaos slipping from the nets of justice." Li Longji gave a hum in response and said, "To execute official duties, go as you please." Li Jinglong said, "I'm afraid that the people of Chang'an will then. Zhen will issue an imperial edict for you." Li Longji asked. All of them laughed, and then Li Jinglong responded, "This subject is in awe." Hung Jun scratched his neck as he said, "Your Majesty, we still owe 6,400 taels of silver to the family that sold us the Lihun pollen. Can you help us out?" Li Jinglong. "What's that?" Yang Yehuan asked. "Why is it worth so much silver?" Hung Jun then began to explain to Yang Yehuan, who was very surprised and asked, "Is there such a thing in the world?" Li Longji stated, "All grievances and hatred can be forgotten through this. Such a spiritual remedy must be a rare thing in this world. It can also relieve people's sorrows. It really is wonderful." Yang Yehuan smiled and said, "But happiness, anger, sorrows, and joy, no matter how troublesome they may be, as long as we are alive, aren't they what makes life interesting? If I were asked to smell the pollen, I surely wouldn't." Li Longji delightedly said, "You're right. If Zhen were asked to smell it, Zhen wouldn't either. I'm afraid there are some things that cannot be forgotten even if one smelled it." Yang Yehuan replied angrily, "Who knows?" Hung Jun and Li Jinglong were unable to make sense of the Emperor and Gai Fei's deep implications. It must have something to do with some petty matter. Hung Jun then said, "I will buy it next time and give you all some. You can look for Qiozhong to receive the note." Li Longji didn't even think about it as he easily said, "Since my beloved concubine has said this, Zhen will dismiss the costs." Hung Jun nodded and wanted to ask for something to eat when Li Jinglong nudged him at once, indicating for him to stop asking for anything more. "Today is seriously a testament to my childhood," Yang Yehuan softly said. "You exorcists are used to dealing with these strange things, however, are there any fresh matters that you can talk to me about?" Although Li Jinglong had a peek of insight into exorcism, he was a mortal after all, and not as good as the other exorcists, who had been dealing with these matters since they were young. He turned to Hung Jun and asked, "Do you want to talk about it for Gai Fei?" Hung Jun quite liked Yang Yehuan and felt that every time he saw her, she could be described as bathing in the warm spring breezes. She was a pleasant and considerate woman, and it was no wonder that the Emperor liked her so much. He randomly chose a few stories about Yao for them to listen to. Hearing this, Yang Yehuan couldn't stop questioning him closely. Hung Jun then began to talk endlessly, from mentioning heavenly veins to discussing Laozi's mystery of the Dao, the door of many wonders, as well as the theory that the world was born entirely from primal chaos. Even Li Jinglong didn't know that Hung Jun knew so much. Amongst all the exorcists, Hung Jun was the only one who had no intentions of showing off, let alone relying on his own status. Normally, he either nodded or said "oh" when discussing the world's mystery of the Dao, but he had actually listened thoroughly. "Are you a Taoist?" Li Longji asked. Hung Jun didn't know which sect he belonged to either. He must say that Qingxiang advocated Buddhism more than he mentioned Taoism. "Do I consider myself a Buddhist?" Hung Jun thought it over and said, "Chu Yangxi is like a Taoist." "What about your fellow from Shiwei?" Yang Yehuan asked. "He's considered a shaman." Hung Jun hesitantly said. "Tegla is a holy son of Zoroastrianism." Li Longji smiled. "If you all fight in everyday life, don't you all call for your respective gods? This is actually quite miraculous." Hung Jun replied, "The world has different routes to achieve the same destination. My father said it is unnecessary to be constrained but to seek the glory of one's true intention." Everyone then slowly nodded. Li Jinglong originally thought that the emperor would inquire about the case because he felt there was something strange with it and wanted to ask about the follow-up plans. Unexpectedly, he paid no attention to the details of the case but instead talked about guis and gods for most of the night. They went round and round in circles and in the end it was all to seek immortality. This was a waste of time. It was better to go home and sleep. Yang Yahuan asked again, "So Hung Jun, little gentleman, there is one thing I wanted to ask." "Speak." Hung Jun was too unceremonious and careless, holding the bowl of tea in one hand and resting his foot on Li Jinglong's knee, taking Xingqing Palace as his home. "Between the heavens and the earths, what is immortal?" Yang Yahuan asked. Hearing this, Li Jinglong became curious and took Hung Jun's foot down as he glanced sideways at him. Realizing he was being too unruly, Hung Jun hurriedly sat straight as he thought for a moment and said, "There's none." "None?" Yang Yahuan asked. "That's right. There's none." Hung Jun earnestly said, "If you have to say there's something, then there is only the heavens above you." With a bowl of tea, Hung Jun motioned to Yang Yahuan and Li Longji to look up at the starry autumn night outside the hall and explained, smiling, "Heaven is eternal, and earth is everlasting. The reason why they last is because they do not exist for themselves, thus why they live so long. This means that only those who weren't born for themselves could live forever. For all sentient beings, however, to seek immortality was already for themselves. Therefore, there is nothing immortal anywhere between the heavens and the earth." At that moment, Li Jinglong seemed to have an illusion as Hung Jun, holding a bowl, faced the emperor and Gai Fei, that even in the face of the gods of the heavens and the earth, he would face them without any fear. His expression was incomparably clear, causing a rush of excitement. Hung Jun looked back straight at Yang Yahuan and Li Longji and smiled. "But I think sometimes that reincarnation is a type of immortality, sometimes nirvana is also immortality. Those who left this life will never meet again in the next. Nothing in this world is eternal, and that is just fate. In that case, what kind of medicine can make people live longer?" Yang Yahuan asked in a soft voice. Li Longji took Yang Yahuan's hand. As Yang Yahuan asked, she couldn't help looking up at Li Longji. Hung Jun replied, "The simpler you live and the closer you are to the heavens and the earth, the longer you live." Li Longji laughed and said, "Forget about it. Kong Hung Jun, you are an intelligent child." Yang Yahuan sighed and said, "If I could prolong His Majesty's life for 1,000 years longer, cultivate into a Yao, and save your life, this concubine would be willing to do so." "Anyone who is born human is much better than an ignorant, unenlightened Yaogwai," Hung Jun replied. "A crane lives a millennium, a tortoise lives 10,000 years. Every sentient being in the world each has its own fate and cannot be forced." Li Jinglong joined in and said, "If people were to change places with tortoises, crawling all day long around in the mud, I think most mortals wouldn't be willing to do so." Yang Yahuan and Li Longji both laughed. Li Longji muttered, "That's true." Hung Jun suddenly remembered something and said, "There seems to be a way to extend one's lifespan though." "What?" The three people were astounded at the same time. "Become a Buddha," Hung Jun said. All right, all right," Li Jinglong said. "Don't get so exhilarated." Li Longji and Yang Gaifei held their foreheads. Hung Jun said, "All sentient beings are aware of the Buddha's nature. To cross sentient beings means to cross oneself. You are a very intelligent child." Yang Gaifei smiled. "The moment you said become a Buddha, I suddenly thought of someone." Hung Jun smiled. "Who?" Yang Gaifei looked at Hung Jun with a smile. Suddenly, her expression changed as her brows slightly frowned, seemingly trying hard to remember, and said, "I always think I've seen you before. Are we brought together by fate?" Hung Jun said. When I saw you for the first time that day," Yang Gaifei rubbed her eyebrows. "I felt that your smile was so familiar, but I can't remember where I've seen it before." "All right," Li Longji said. Let everything go with fate. That's enough for today, go back and have a rest. Official Li, when you have time, take along your little brother to talk about the mysteries of the world again. Knowing that they were going to rest, Li Jinglong then hurried Hung Jun up to leave. Yang Yahuan waved again and said, Hung Jun, come here. Do you still want to recognize another adopted son? Li Longji smiled. Yang Yahuan smilingly took a piece of snack and handed it to Hung Jun. Hung Jun thanked her, and Yang Yahuan said, this child is too beautiful. My brother has several children, but none as vigorous as he is. In the dead of night, Li Jinglong and Hung Jun left the palace. Li Jinglong walked slowly, carrying a small cage with a fox inside. Picking up a roadside leaf, Hung Jun turned around and asked, did I say something wrong today? No. The corners of Li Jinglong's mouth slightly tilted up. Good performance. You're growing more and more clever. He strongly felt that Hung Jun was learning so quickly and could now more or less adapt to the life in Chang'an, compared with his apprehensive appearance when he had first entered the exorcism department. I'm just too foolish, Hung Jun said with embarrassment. I never know what else your guys' words mean. As a matter of fact, Hung Jun had pretty much been unclear in this case all the way down until he finally came to understand the twists and turns of what was going on. Li Jinglong, Chu Yongxi, Mo Rijin, and A Tai all seemed to have had a tacit understanding, while only he had been dull-witted, just following them the entire time. They are all wise to worldly matters, Li Jinglong said with a smile. It's normal that you were confused. Hung Jun studied Li Jinglong, who immediately stopped smiling. Keep smiling, Hung Jun said. It looks good. Give this little one a smile. Come. Li Jinglong forehead veins burst out. Where did you learn that? Hung Jun thought that Li Jinglong really looked good when he smiled. He was usually rigid, serious, and discreet, like a true self-possessed general, but when he smiled, it gave off a heartfelt kind feeling. I'm going to test you. Guess where we're going now? Li Jinglong sternly asked. Hung Jun turned his head to see that this was not the way to the exorcism department. He scratched his head and said, where do you want to go at this late hour? As they reached a back alley, Li Jinglong handed the cage to Hung Jun, flipped over the back wall, and leaped in. Is there another case? Hung Jun asked in surprise. No answer was heard from the inside, and Li Jinglong pushed open the back door and let out a horse. You stole someone's horse. Borrowed it. Let's go. That was the back door of the Longwu army. Li Jinglong mounted up and reached out his hand to pull Hung Jun up and had him sit behind himself. Then, with the clatter of hooves, he rode through the long street towards the west gate. The sound of hooves seemed especially distinct in the long quiet street, and they stopped at the top of a hill upon reaching the city gate. Come. Li Jinglong handed the cage to Hung Jun again and took off the talisman on it. Just letting it out right here? Hung Jun asked. Or what? Li Jinglong asked. Bring it back. Hung Jun thought this was also good and took the little fox out of the cage. Li Jinglong stretched out his fingers and rubbed the little fox's chin repeatedly. The morning star rose from the horizon and the white marble color of dawn appeared. As the sky turned from night to day across the entire divine land, Hung Jun looked up towards the azure sky alternating between dawn and dusk. The celestial veins radiated magnificent tints that connected with the earth, just like a giant ship that had gone through eternity and never stopped. Hey, wake up! Li Jinglong's voice was a lot gentler as he repeatedly scratched the little fox's chin. Hung Jun chuckled and said, the second dose was not much. The little fox woke up with an "oh" and looked at Li Jinglong warily. Li Jinglong bent up his finger and hit it on its head, rebuking as he said, you haven't settled the account for biting Hung Jun. Hung Jun hurriedly said to forget about it. The little fox nervously looked at Hung Jun and then to Li Jinglong. When he realized what had happened, Li Jinglong immediately snapped his fingers in front of its nose. With the sound of his snapped fingers, Li Jinglong's hand poured out Lihun pollen and caused the little fox to sneeze, its eyes full of confusion. Hung Jun let go, and it fell to the ground, then rushed into the thicket. "Don't go back to Chang'an," Li Jinglong said. "If you're ever found again, I won't be able to spare you." The little fox hid in the shrubs and looked out. Laden with sadness, Hung Jun bid him farewell and came down from the hill with Li Jinglong. The sun rose together with the hundreds of birds singing in the mountain forests that awakened the 800 miles of Qinchuan. "Zhenqi," Hung Jun said. Li Jinglong led the horse ahead. Unexpectedly, Hung Jun jumped on him and rode on his back. "I like you so much. Get down, quick. What do you think you look like? There's no one here." Li Jinglong got Hung Jun off of him and asked, "What are you being crazy about?" "You don't really dislike Yaoguais," Hung Jun stated proudly. "Right. I don't hate Yaoguais who haven't done evil," Li Jinglong sternly replied. "Then you like the little fox? Who doesn't like a lovely face?" Li Jinglong said. "But relying on one's loveliness, yet being unbridled and lawless certainly is not allowed." He poked his finger at Hung Jun's head, then mounted the horse, beckoning him to hurry up. Hung Jun felt as if he had been insinuated against but didn't think it through. When he mounted the horse, he asked, "Zhenqi, when will you take me to Pingkong Li?" Li Jinglong. As the horse's hooves gradually faded, Chang'an's morning bell spread far and wide, as they passed on the sunny road away from the dust. The sun shone brightly on an early autumn morning when Hung Jun fell asleep whilst on the road. When they arrived in the exorcism department, Li Jinglong carried him in his arms all the way into the room and laid him on the couch as he sighed and said, "Sleep." After that, he went out to return the horse. As soon as he returned to the exorcism department, the conferred reward also came. Li Jinglong then bowed by himself to receive the imperial decree without waking up his subordinates. This time, they were rewarded with a total of 90 taels of silver and some refreshments, as well as a note issued by the National Treasury, which could be handed over to the Lihun pollen merchants in exchange for silver. After all this, Li Jinglong finally lay down and slept until dusk. The descendants of Isai, Shiwei, Chu's heir, and an extra mortal without mana. I do think that the identity of that youth is the most mysterious and very fishy. I don't care who he is. You just watched this all happen, right under your nose. So? What do you want me to do? The man in the green robe slightly spread out his hands and added, "Your fox descendants chose this path. If you're willing to gamble, then you're willing to admit defeat, isn't that how the saying goes?" The noble lady couldn't help panting, her eyes glowing so red that they almost spilled blood as she gasped, "I will avenge them." The man and the noble lady stood in the shadows at the depths of Xingqing Palace. As the sun set in the west, the two lengthened silhouettes appeared as sinister Gui creatures with bared fangs and brandished claws. "It's quite easy to get rid of him," the man whispered in the lady's ear. "But the earthly emperor is on his guard. If you let Mara get exposed this early, it can't last more than a few years." The lady intently looked at the man's face and said every single word in his ear, "His and the Great Tang's fate will soon end." "But you still have no way to deal with him," the man coldly said. "You'd better think it through for me that there are no remaining variables. Mara's reincarnation, no matter how valiant these exorcists are, they still can't stop it. Don't blame me for not warning you that trying to get some small gains would lead to a big mess." The lady suddenly shivered and said with a malicious overtone in her voice, "Did you already know long ago?" The man smiled and said, "You're too suspicious. You knew about their plan." The lady quivered. "In order not to be involved, you had to forsake all my descendants." The man no longer said anything as he turned to leave. The lady behind shouted at the top of her voice, "Otherwise why didn't you go to the examination room? You remember what happened today for me." End chapter.